From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief technologist at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, I have Mr. Ryan Waterbury with me, and a month into the year, we're going to look at preparations for 2026. It's a good time to reflect, sit back, relax, learn, and enjoy. The SDM Show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing concierge that helps you put all your marketing pieces together. We are your marketing experts. We are also your WordPress security experts and know how to lock down a website and protect yourself from bad actors. So contact us at Stunning Digital Marketing today. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And today I've got my good friend, Mr. Ryan Waterbury, coming to you from Deep Freeze number 2 because the Toronto area is Deep Freeze number 1. Hey Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. Hey, by the way, you could take your weather from Alberta back.
No, my brother's in Alberta. He told me before this call that he doesn't want it and you can have it. So, it's the old. I mean, at the time of this record, between snow and weather, and we're getting cold again, I'm a little tired of it. I'll take the snow. I don't like the cold. So there
Yeah,
you
I
go.
hear you.
Anyway, we're into January, almost done January. Geez, where did that happen? And we thought we'd talk about sort of a month in, preparing for this year, what you got, what you have to do, and more. And one of the things I was saying to you last week is I don't like resolutions. I hate them. I won't do them because resolutions are not measurable. And I still prefer in my life to do things that are concrete, time sensitive, and measurable. What do you think about that?
That's exactly where you need to be, and that's something that I'm working on myself. Just because, I throw tasks on the project management board, and right before we started the show, I said, you know how long this has been on my task list?
Yep.
2023. And it's a really
Yep.
very important thing that hurts me from pulling in new leads. And I haven't done it because I've been so busy. Does that tell you how busy the business is? Uh,
Yeah.
and for context, it's my portfolio of work and case
Yeah.
studies that we've had. It took a little bit of time after getting crushed in 2020 and pivoting to do new case studies and new relevant work because a lot of that was gone. A lot of those businesses closed, but seeing those things on a task board, it's intimidating, and it's not the right place for it when you're looking at things on a daily basis. And um, so I'm doing the same thing, trying to break things down into small, measurable tasks that are easily completable, but move the ball forward. And I have another spot where I have the long-term goals. They're planning goals. They're not, like you said, they're not resolutions. These are things that, hey, we want to work towards this. And
Mhm.
all those small tasks accumulate over time and working on
Yeah.
those small things. Today, for example, I spent time putting my past work on my LinkedIn profile, and for good reason. We can talk about that later, but little things that improve my visibility online, things that are on my task list that have been set aside for a while that need to get checked off, and you feel good about completing work. That's the positive thing here.
Yeah.
Just that incremental progress.
I agree. More so, I think when we have big goals, and you're saying you've got long-term goals, and I do too, which is really important, you need to break those down into smaller little goals or milestones or whatever you want to call them. Because my experience has been as a project manager, and I have a PMI background, I think you know that. is when the goals are too big, they look obtainable and impossible. When you break
Mhm.
them down in smaller chunks and work on those smaller chunks, they're more obtainable and more apt to get done. What do you think of that way of doing things?
That's exactly how I'm approaching it. And
Mm.
trust me, I never want to do another Six Sigma breakdown of processes. But
Yeah, I
at
hear
the
you.
end of the day, I actually did go back to that project management training that I had for my days in executive management that uh,
Mm.
I sat down and I said, why am I not getting these tasks done? And you're right. It took me a minute to figure out that I need to do time blocking. Yeah, we've talked about that a few times that
We
I
have.
have designated times to do certain tasks. And I've done that in my schedule specifically to do work on my business. And then I've broken it down even further, specific days where I have Monday and Friday completely blocked off for dealing with support tickets first thing in the morning. Then I take a little break, do some research and catch up on news, do a little client work, a meeting, and then the afternoon is all admin work. And that's where I'm taking one or two of those long-term tasks and sitting down and doing a couple of things that help me get towards those big milestones on my Monday and Friday afternoons. And usually if there's not a 3 o'clock fire drill from a client, I get things done and it puts me in a lot better mood and I can actually see the progress down the road.
Mhm. What I would suggest to go one step further for those watching and listening is not only time block out your admin time, but actually go into those time blocks and say, between 1 and 2, I want to accomplish this. And I
Mhm.
actually set a timer very often on Alexa or on my phone. Now I'm going to set that beeped off, but it's in the other room. That's okay. And I'll set a timer. And when the timer goes, I move on to the next task and I reschedule
Mhm.
unless it's a mission critical. So I think you actually have to go this step further and block the time in. And that's how I manage that is I look at my schedule the night before. So tomorrow I know I'm on a client site all day. So
Mhm.
there's nothing getting done tomorrow. Depending on how tomorrow goes, where my Friday will go. So as a result, if you were to look at my Google Calendar, because that's where all my roads lead you to is a Google Calendar, right?
Mhm.
Um, I have the day blocked off because I know there's a possibility I'll be on this client site for 3 hours. More realistically, it's probably going to work out to about 2 or 2.5. And then by the time I get out of there, whatever. So time will free up. If time frees up and I manage to get home at a decent time, that's the famous last words. I will actually take tasks and block them into the spare time and say, I want to accomplish this, this, and this.
Mhm.
I'm already doing that on Monday. I've got a couple meetings scheduled. And in the afternoon, I've got some client work I've got to figure out, adding some new websites, a quote that needs to be done, some follow ups that need to be done. I'm already putting those in my calendar with designated times because I don't like the phrase to do lists, even though everybody calls it that. I call them a list of things to be done. They're not a to do list. And when we manage it that way, then we tend to get things done when we actually put them on the calendar.
Oh, absolutely. I put important things first in my PM software, and then uh, I have
Yep,
the
me
daily
too.
roundup of things, and I schedule there on things that I need to do. But uh, yeah, the real trick is when things don't get done, and you have to put the task back. That's the tricky part when you're rescheduling and have to shuffle things around, which happens all the time. And
Yep.
it's tough that you know, I am still working on a task that should have been crossed off last Friday, but when we hit
Mhm.
30 below Fahrenheit on Friday morning, and then about the same into Saturday morning, it caused a lot of problems with the house that I thought we had prepared for,
Yep.
vehicles, things like that.
Yep.
It threw a real wrench into it that I didn't end up taking care of all the personal things till finally yesterday evening. And
Yep.
so when you have a couple of days that throw in and you have to reschedule, that gets tough, especially when you are booked back to back to back.
You
What
mean
I've
like
learned is
you mean like the day of shoveling snow for 8 hours because we had 2 feet? Yeah.
no, not one big long task, but when you have a lot of tasks,
Yeah.
I've learned to put in plenty of buffer time. And even when you blow a whole day, uh, you've got to find slots for all those tasks again. Thankfully, I'd never book my days fully anymore, and that's for this specific reason. So when things
Me neither.
do go sideways, that you can recover, and that's one of the nice flexible things about being a small agile agency is being able to pivot and adjust when needed.
Hmm. I agree with you. I mean, and I agree so heartedly what you say about doing admin tasks. I know Friday afternoons, I almost never do client meetings, no, unless it's a dire emergency, because I know on a Friday afternoon, my no-show rate goes up dramatically. But
Mhm.
interestingly enough, Friday afternoons is a good time to record podcasts because a lot of the people I work with and you work with are already checked out from the regular work. So that actually works really well. So
Mhm.
it's kind of figuring out what the sweet spot is. Um, and if you don't think this works, folks, what I would suggest is an experiment my partner Tiz is working on. Take all those ideas of things you have to do in your head and spend 3 weeks and dump them on a pieces of paper. And then
Mhm.
grab an accountability person, in this case me, and what we're doing is we're going through the task list and saying, okay, these are the things you want to get done. What's really important here? What matters to your quality of life? What matters to your parents' quality of life? What matters to our quality of life? Now, this is a personal example, but it could be applied to business very easily in the same way. And then
Mhm.
just kind of figure them out. And the key is not, and you said not to book your days fully. Don't over account for stuff and leave yourself buffer time because not everything takes the hour you think it's going to take.
It was interesting when you talked about time blocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, after 2020, when, my marketing niche got crushed, hospitality and
Hmm.
restaurants,
I'm in
I
that
was able
space.
to,
You know that.
yeah, and I unfortunately, I may have said yes to a local SEO and website built for a restaurant, which it'll be fun, because it's not 80% of my business now. But after that, I've been running software in a bunch of different languages for the past 30 plus years. And it was an opportunity to do some dev heavy projects. So, time blocking, which I was comfortable with, that Pomodoro technique, 30 minutes, you
Yep.
move on. I had to throw it out the window because when I got into vibe, not vibe coding, but actually writing my own code by hand, not with an IDE either, by the way, I'm one of those old school freaks, I guess you could say. I would just get in such a groove, it would be 2 hours later. And I would look up and I'm like, oh, I should probably take a break. There are some exceptions to that rule with time blocking, with that technique. And when I realized that you can't be really strict on that 30-minute rule, it's a good rule to do if you're in an admin or business setting. But if your tasks generally take longer than that for a singular task, then you need to adjust and figure out what works for you. But that's time blocking to block out specific days of my week to do specific tasks has been a complete game changer. That's one thing
Yep.
that I've done over the past couple of years. But this next, after I figured out that 30-minute window wasn't working for me, that some of my tasks were a little bit longer, I was able to plan better.
Yeah.
And so that meant less rescheduling. And it really has meant less rescheduling. I've had clients get angry at me and they said, why can't I have this today? And I said, have I ever been able to do this amount of work in a day for you? Well,
Yeah.
no. That's why I'm telling you this is the slot that I can get it into next week.
Hmm.
Honestly, if you can get work in on a day's notice, that's kind of scary and should alarm a client. that just means that you're not that busy, and that's not a good sign for a lot of people. But you know, planning for this year, I feel pretty good about project planning and time management. It's always been a struggle, but getting in a rhythm, and I hate to say it, but AI has really helped me out on some of these tasks.
Me
When you
too.
get hung up, especially when I'm writing and I can't figure out the right phrasing or the right response,
Mhm.
where normally I'd pick up the phone sometimes and hit you up or our Slack group. Uh, it's been nice to brainstorm, and it
Yep.
also is nice to automate a few things that
Yep.
it's finding a home in my workflow, not as much as some other companies, but I'm trying to find useful ways to automate some things and um, do some things a little differently with AI. I think
Hmm.
I was talking about, pivoting into dev heavy, and we're pivoting away from that because development, obviously, we're writing language, and we all know what got hit with the advent of AI at first was the
Yep.
written word, and then it came for the programming languages. So we're doing a lot more marketing work now. And
What I would stop you and suggest though is the problem with AI in the programming still is one of my big fortes, and you know where I'm going is security because
mhm.
AI doesn't take security into account yet. So that's a bit of an
Eh,
issue out there.
Yep. Well, and that actually goes back to the user. And
That's
it's because you will, if you're not directing it to use um, certain methods or techniques for security,
Mhm.
then it's going to write the code that works.
I know.
And I think we're getting better about that. But it's this is the year where I think a lot of us are going to figure out how AI fits into our business. And be
Yeah.
in 26 especially, and then 27, if you don't have it figured out, I think you're going to be left behind, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that's my goal for this year, is to figure out how it's going to fit in our workflow. I'm already seeing some improvements, and uh, I have held off on hiring a VA because I've been able to automate some of these small tasks that I would
Mhm.
normally have a VA do.
Yeah, I've actually avoided going back to a VA for exactly that reason because of AI. So I think what you gotta automate in an agency perspective is follow-up. And this is where CRMs come in the real handy. You're using Fluent CRM. I'm in the middle of a switch to Fluent CRM. I'm not there yet on the automation side, but I am there on the tagging and the workflow side. So I'm already there. So I'm halfway there.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the reason you need to go to automation, and automation, if done right, is just another form of AI, I'm sorry, is because we don't have time to do this. And agencies are really bad at follow up with customers or prospective customers. So I
Mhm.
put that all into a CRM and get on them and say, by the way, and let the CRM do the work instead of you doing the work. That's important too.
Exactly. And I've used Fluent CRM to automate our onboarding process, automate
Yep.
our offboarding process. And well, the fact that I actually have an onboarding process, an offboarding process, if you don't have a clean one, or even a lead flow, lead generation is something that we also do a lot of. And I'm revamping how we're doing it for service-based businesses, particularly digital to start. And
Yep.
I'm always use my business as a case study, but that's where I'm finding some improvements, even on top of the automation that we've done prior to AI. And you're absolutely correct. It's the communication pieces that I have a flow mapped out based on the actions and the replies that someone has in my lead flow. They get different responses, and that's how I've been able to avoid hiring a VA. It's been extremely useful, but
Yeah.
also
What I would
there are some.
suggest, sorry, what I would suggest is before you move on is anybody that's stuck with this kind of stuff, put the brakes on your self promotion and spend half a day just figuring out what you need to address. Because one of the problems with entrepreneurs is they don't know where to go. Their heads are in 10 different spots. And that's why I come back to the take some paper, write it out, figure it out, take the time. You say, I don't have a half day. My argument would be, you can't afford not to have that half day. It's my response.
Exactly. And that's something that I've avoided hiring for a couple of years because I absolutely I was an automation specialist and developer and also ran some pretty hefty departments. And I let go and automated so many people out of jobs over my career that I didn't want to do it again. So I've been very hesitant to hire people, and I'm still looking for some direct hires. And that's my goal for this year is to, one, solidify our processes and make sure that what we're still doing, selling and out there working on actually still works, because things have changed even in the last year. Last June, May, June, I revamped my services. I'm already going to redo it again because things have changed on how to deliver. I I want to get that set before I bring anyone else into the organization. So I want my SOPs updated for both internal processes and how we work with external clients. Uh, Taking a day or two every year just to audit that, and usually in January when we take a breather after Black Friday, Giving Tuesday, and all the Christmas rush, I usually try to do that. And
Mhm.
this year it's been all gas, no brakes with client stuff. I'm happy about it, but it's taking a
I
lot
agree.
longer to do that evaluation and taking stock of where we need to go and where we're at right now.
No, I so agree. I'm in the same boat. I got a couple big projects that are coming to an end, and it just seems there's no break coming. Um, as you kind of look ahead and project ahead, Ryan, do you think you're in a better shape now, or do you think you're in a worse shape looking ahead?
Yeah. I think better now that I've taken the time to look at some things
Mhm.
and see what what's missing and what needs to be done. There were a couple of things that I've had on my to-do list for a while. One was putting my portfolio on my site, and that's something that's become really important in this new age of how you get found, and
Yeah.
social proof, especially too. But um, you know, I've really gone back to the basics and said, okay, what are we selling? What does the company do? And making sure that that's clearly defined, uh, because things have changed on, especially how digital marketers are working, how we're selling, how we're producing work,
Yep.
and figuring out, is this the right way to present it? I'm also going through all of my social media platforms, making sure the information is correct. Really, what I'm doing is just good SEO work, uh, with in the age of AI, AEO, GEO, whichever flavor you want to take it. And most recently, I agreed to moderate a Reddit forum for SEO Signals Lab. They're the largest SEO group on Facebook right now, and it was
Yeah,
time
there.
to start a Reddit forum. But I'm happy to be working on that and leaning into helping clients get found. But before I could help other clients, I needed to look at our own business to see if we're still doing the right things. And this is the time of year that I always like to tell other businesses, my clients, take a look, evaluate, see if you're doing the right things. For me, December to January, it's when a lot of my software renewals come up. So I always check, is this tool still relevant? Because now, instead of, a few $100s a year, some of these tools that do automation work are $3,000 to $4,000 a year when you pay for them
That's right.
annually. And
Right.
when you look at the cost of hiring an employee, that's pennies on the dollar. But also, is it still work that you're doing? Is it relevant? Is it worth it? I have a tool that will the renewal I think is now 4,000. It'll come up in April. I don't know if I'm going to renew it. So I'm looking at things like that. Is this right for what the work we're doing? It's not
Yeah.
just tools, but it's also, do I need to hire someone? Or what do I do here? And you hit it on the
Better
head.
still, are you even using the tools that you're paying for? I did an
Right.
audit of a small business who's not in the agency space. Do you know they were paying $6,000 for tools that they didn't know why the clue they bought them? So, like, seriously, sit down and audit your tools. And the best way is create a spreadsheet. I don't care what your flavor is, Excel, Google Docs, wherever you want to put it, and just keep track. And I actually put renewal dates for all my tools in my calendar. And I have them set
Mhm.
off to go off 14 days before the renewal. And I do that also with domain names. I do that with other things. Again, coming back to letting the calendar be my assistant and manage my life.
I, I'm leaning into that a little bit more this year. ClickUp was
Yep,
absolutely horrible with their Google Calendar integration. It
it
would
is.
overwrite things. Uh, they are finally getting to it and working on it, and AI is helping them a lot to make better decisions on what calendar to put things on. So, yeah, living in my calendar, it's not the best way to do things. It's not the worst way, but you need to find a system that works for you and works
That's
for
right.
the people around you and your clients. Um, and then I've been finding some surprises where today I had a client that was super late on paying a bill. They paid it 2 weeks ago. They needed to pick up a retainer service, and I got busy. They followed up today and said, "Hey, sorry, we know we're working on some other stuff. I'm going to sign up. What do I need to do today?" Client follow-ups, and we always talk about working with the clients that you want to work with. Now, that also talks about your vendors too. And um, I know, what was it, 23 when we did our first podcast? I think
Yeah,
it was within the first couple of episodes I talked about you should fire your worst client every year.
I still subscribe to that.
And I still subscribe to that as well. And over time, working with enough bad clients, you should know who your ideal client is. But it's helped me understand that not just the ideal business, but the ideal client that you want to work with. If you're still working with people that make you pull your hair out, I need to keep what little I have left. Um, then you need to make a change and pivot. So that's the other part of it. When I've looked at all our services and all the work we're doing and the tools, then I looked at my client base. Usually I do this in December, but
Yeah,
January is working out just fine. Are we serving the right people? Are my customers helping me grow? Are we
yeah,
helping them appropriately? And that's the other thing. We've talked about tools and processes, but we also need to look at our business mix and our client mix, because everybody's got that one client that when you see them call, you get an email, you just kind of shiver goes up your spine and you're like, oh, what do they want today?
yeah,
And
yeah.
if that's the case with every one of your clients, then I would suggest taking it back and evaluate what you're doing and choose a different direction.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you. All I can say, kind of to wrap up here, is make sure you're organized going into 2026. I know we're a month in, but there's still time. Keep the organizational going, keep refining your processes, and keep working. And if you get stuck, reach out to Ryan or I. We'll jump on a console call with you and help you figure it out.
Yeah,
Ryan,
yeah,
yeah. And
absolutely.
if
Yeah, that's one
you
thing
want
that
to get, go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's one thing that I don't think that you or I stress, that we both do this enough, is just general business strategy with all of our
Yep.
clients, that we offer that. And I may be an SEO professional, and a digital marketer and a solid developer, but I run a business. I've helped hundreds of businesses, and I've
Me
seen
too.
the pitfalls that we all fall into. If you're starting out, Rob and I can absolutely give you advice on what not to do, because we've probably done it.
Yeah, I've been there. So true. Going over to One Dog Solutions, talk to Ryan. He'll glad to talk to you. Say hi to his two office managers. They would be very quiet right about now, which is
Mhm.
unusual at podcast record time. And Ryan, until next month, have a great day, my friend. Be well.
You too.
This podcast has been brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital marketing concierge to help the business owner put all his pieces together, whether it's email marketing, WordPress security, WordPress design and development, PPC, and more. Text Stunning Digital Marketing for all your digital marketing needs today. A very special thank you to Ryan for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.